The greatest fortune ever created was not financial, it was mental. Before every skyscraper was erected, before every corporation was born, before a single empire made its mark on the world, there stood a man alone in thought, possessed not by money but by mastery. He mastered his mind. He mastered his emotions. He mastered his responses. And then the world obeyed him. For the mind is the original marketplace, and every external fortune you can see, touch, or count is nothing more than a reflection, a faint echo of an internal fortune that was built first. You do not become a billionaire by chasing money. You become one by cultivating the conditions that command it. And here's what they never tell you. The habits of billionaires are not about money. They are about the mindset that attracts, multiplies, and protects it. Now, I do not speak here to those who seek shortcuts. I do not address the daydreamer, the drifter, or the fool who believes wealth is an accident of chance. No, I am here to speak to the serious man, the disciplined mind, the one who is prepared to endure the pressure of truth, and by that truth be made invincible. So listen not with your ears, but with your intention. Because what I am about to reveal are not merely habits, but laws. Laws that govern the minds of the most powerful men in the world. Not because they were born with something special, but because they chose to think in ways others are too lazy, too emotional, or too distracted to maintain. Here begins your elevation. Habit 1. They build emotional neutrality, not emotional excitement. You have been taught to believe that passion, hype, and enthusiasm are the engines of success. That is a lie. True builders, the ones who shape continents and industries, are not fueled by excitement. They are powered by equanimity. They do not rise and fall with the emotional tides. They operate on command. Because billionaires know emotions are expensive. Every emotional reaction costs you time. Every impulsive decision costs you precision. Every outburst, doubt, or internal collapse costs you opportunities that only discipline could have preserved. Do you want to know why average people remain average? Because their emotions are in the driver's seat. They get offended easily, they seek approval compulsively, they panic under pressure. But the billionaire has trained his nervous system to remain calm. He can stare chaos in the face and still make logical decisions. He can hear criticism and not flinch. He can be betrayed and still move forward with unwavering focus. How? He has mastered the law of mental neutrality. This law states, you must never allow your emotions to make permanent decisions based on temporary conditions. And he trains for this like a warrior sharpens his sword. He pauses before he reacts. He breathes before he speaks. He observes his feelings like clouds in the sky and only acts on principle. This is not coldness. This is command. It is the first and greatest mental advantage in the world of wealth. If you want to rise to the level of unstoppable success, emotional neutrality must become your daily practice. So starting today, you will install this habit. Whenever you feel an intense emotion, do not trust it. Observe it, sit with it, and ask yourself, what would the calm, calculated version of me do right now? Then do only that. Repeat this enough times, and eventually you'll realize the most powerful man in the room is not the one who talks the loudest, it's the one who feels the least and thinks the clearest. Habit 2. They train focus like a monastic discipline. The average man chases 10 ideas. The billionaire executes one with perfection. The average man is consumed by noise. The billionaire operates in silence. The average man is addicted to information. The billionaire is obsessed with implementation. There is no greater currency of success than attention. And billionaires protect theirs like a fortress. They do not answer every call. They do not respond to every message. They do not scroll, compare, or distract themselves with the lives of others. Because they understand a truth the masses ignore, you cannot create powerfully when your mind is fractured. Focus is a muscle, and the more you train it, the stronger your results. But here's the secret most will never know. Focus is not about doing more. It's about cutting ruthlessly. Cut the distractions. Cut the obligations. Cut the relationships that drain rather than sharpen you. Because a billionaire does not ask, how can I fit this in? He asks, does this serve my mission? If the answer is no, he eliminates it. Understand this. Every yes you say to distraction is a no to your future. And the future does not reward the distracted, it rewards the obsessed. You must begin treating your attention as sacred. Design your day like a machine. Schedule everything. Think in blocks. Guard your time like your life depends on it, because it does. You are not just spending minutes, you are spending potential. And once your attention is scattered, your energy follows. But when your attention is aligned with your purpose, you become unshakable. So install this habit now. Every morning before the world intrudes, ask, what is the single highest value task I can do today that moves me toward my vision? Then eliminate everything else. That is how billionaires think. And if you can train your mind to do that daily, with ruthless consistency, the world will bend in your direction not because you are lucky, but because you are precise. Habit 3, they view pain as the price of power. Average people flee discomfort, billionaires chase it. Why? Because they know the pain is the doorway. The masses avoid discipline because it burns. They avoid criticism because it wounds. They avoid failure because it bruises the ego. But billionaires understand that all growth begins where comfort ends. You cannot be exceptional and comfortable at the same time. So they voluntarily enter pressure. They do hard things. They make uncomfortable decisions. They kill their ego daily. Because they do not seek to feel powerful. They seek to be powerful. And power is purchased with pain. The moment you feel resistance, lean in. The moment your mind says, I don't want to, do it faster. The moment the world says, that's too much, you increase the pace. Because your inner world must be trained to override the outer noise. Install this belief. I grow stronger every time I do the difficult thing when I don't feel like it. This habit alone, this reframe, will separate you from 99% of the world. Because when others flee the furnace, you become it. And from that furnace emerges a man no obstacle can destroy, because he has already chosen discipline over ease. Habit 4. They operate from internal standards, not external approval. Understand this and let it ring through your bones. The man who seeks approval will never be free. And the man who is not free can never build greatness. What most people call ambition is often a camouflage for insecurity. They don't want to build, they want to be seen building. They don't want to win, they want others to clap when they do. They are addicted to applause and allergic to solitude. But the billionaire thinks in reverse. He operates by internal standards, the voice within, not the noise without. He does not measure success by followers, headlines, likes, or external validation. He measures it by one metric alone. Did I move closer to my mission today? Because he knows applause is unpredictable. Praise is fragile. And waiting for recognition is a trap disguised as motivation. If you need to be seen to believe in your work, you do not yet own your vision. Billionaires own their vision in the dark. They plant in silence. They build in solitude. They endure misunderstanding and keep going. Why? Because they are led by principle, not popularity. They do not alter the plan just because others can't see the blueprint. They do not doubt themselves because the world hasn't caught up yet. They do not seek to be understood. They seek to become undeniable. This is the fourth mindset habit, detachment from approval. You must train yourself to obey your standard, not the opinion of spectators. Every day before you act, ask yourself, am I doing this to be excellent or to be admired? If it's the latter, stop. You are being seduced by emotional ego. But if it's the former, proceed like a man who knows the world, bends to those who stay true long enough. You must build a backbone of inner clarity so strong the noise of the world cannot touch it. Because until you no longer need permission to act, you are not acting, you are performing. And performers get applause, but builders get results. Habit 5. They treat every thought as a strategic investment. The average man thinks by accident. He has thoughts but no control. Ideas, but no structure. Worries, but no awareness. He allows his mind to be a dumping ground for whatever the world throws into it, and then wonders why his life looks like a mental landfill. But the billionaire knows this. Every thought you allow, you empower. And every thought you empower becomes part of your results. He does not think casually. He thinks deliberately. He audits his thoughts like a banker audits a fortune. He does not tolerate vague worries, circular doubts, or mental noise. He treats each idea like a financial investment because it is. Why? Because thought precedes action, action shapes results. Results build empires. Therefore, the thought is the first currency. Would you invest your money into a business that lies to you, insults you, doubts you, and weakens you? No? Then why are you investing your mind in those exact thoughts? Here is the habit. Every time a thought arises, question it. Ask, is this thought building the man I am becoming? If yes, keep it. If no, replace it. Do not argue with it. Do not debate it. Do not entertain it. Just replace it. Write down 5 thoughts that reflect your billionaire identity. Recite them daily. This is not affirmation. This is mental reprogramming. Because the mind, like a machine, will run whatever code you install. Install weak code, get weak results. Install precision, and your thoughts will begin to produce outcomes worthy of your future. Habit 6. They detach from the outcome, obsess over the process. There is a strange paradox among the world's most powerful minds. They are obsessively committed yet emotionally detached. They want the goal, but they are not desperate for it. They strive for the outcome, but they are not owned by it. They play to win, but they do not fall apart when the score is uncertain. Why? Because billionaires know. It is not the outcome that makes the man. It is the process he masters along the way. They understand that outcomes fluctuate. Markets shift. Plans evolve. Fortunes rise and fall. But the one thing that always remains is process. So they pour their energy, their obsession, their entire identity, not into the result, but into the ritual. They don't ask, how fast can I win? They ask, how deeply can I repeat what works until the world has no choice but to yield? They do not confuse speed with direction. They do not need to feel like they're succeeding every day because they know that consistency beats urgency. The man who checks the scoreboard too often loses the game. The man who checks his standards daily, he becomes unstoppable. So here is the habit. You detach from the result and marry the process. You do not obsess over the numbers. You obsess over execution. You fall in love with refinement. Because when process becomes sacred, results become inevitable. Say this daily. I do not chase, I compound. I do not rush, I refine. I do not need the outcome, I own the process. When that becomes your default thinking, frustration disappears. And in its place, a relentless, focused, untouchable energy that moves through life with precision. That, my friend, is the mentality of a builder of empires. Habit 7. They think in decades, act in days. While most men think in hours, the billionaire thinks in eras. He plans in decades, but he executes in this day. He holds a long-term vision with surgical short-term action. He is not swayed by minor losses. He is not distracted by temporary setbacks. He is not addicted to immediate validation because he knows the compound effect of mental discipline. He understands that what looks small now will become unignorable later. This is the mindset. I am not building for applause. I am building for eternity. He does not ask, is this working yet? He asks, will this still matter in 10 years? And then he plants, waters, and tends like a man who knows the harvest belongs only to the relentlessly patient. Would you like to know why most people never break through? Because they quit on day 97 of a 100-day transformation. Because they confuse speed with progress and comfort with correctness. But the billionaire separates himself with this habit. He does not make decisions based on today's emotion. He makes them based on tomorrow's legacy. You must do the same. Write this question in bold ink where you can see it. If I repeated today's thinking and behavior for the next 10 years, would I become a legend or a cautionary tale? Answer honestly. If the answer is legend, keep going. If the answer is caution, change immediately. Because in the end, the habits you repeat determine the empire you build. And the empires of the mind always precede the empires of the world. Now we arrive at the summit, not of this speech, but of your awakening. You have been handed 7 laws, 7 weapons, 7 mirrors through which to examine and confront your mediocrity and burn it. But I must say this now, without apology. Knowing is not becoming. Reading is not rising. Agreement is not transformation. You may nod at every word, you may feel fire in your chest, but if you do not live these truths, then you have not heard them. You have merely entertained yourself with the idea of power. And the idea of power is not power. Real power, the kind that reshapes lives, builds empires, and silences, fear begins when you decide that your old way of being is no longer acceptable. Not tomorrow. Not after you finish the book. Not when your emotions align. Now. Now is the moment you draw a line. Now is the moment you say, no more emotion, led choices. No more approval-seeking behavior. No more mental chaos disguised as ambition. Now is the moment you become precise. Because let me remind you, and let these words live forever in your subconscious. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. That is not a metaphor, it is a law. A law that governs the soil of success and the architecture of greatness. And the moment you break that law even slightly, the foundation of your destiny begins to crack. Do not let it crack. You have come too far. You have learned too much. You have seen, perhaps for the first time, that the battle was never about effort, it was about clarity. It was never about willpower, it was about identity. You do not need more motivation, you need more standards. You do not need to do more. You need to do fewer things, better, deeper, longer. You do not need more approval. You need more solitude so your mind can echo with your own voice, not the voices of the world. So what now? Now you implement. Now you apply these 7 laws with religious intensity until your thoughts become weapons, your habits become shields, and your very presence becomes a signal to the universe that you are no longer here to survive, you are here to rule. Let me speak the laws back into your bones, not as reminders, but as your new constitution. Emotional neutrality over excitement. Let your power come from stillness, not stimulus. Monastic focus over shallow multitasking. Do fewer things. Execute them better than anyone alive. Pain is not a punishment, it's a price. Walk into the furnace, burn weakness, forge strength. Approval is a drug. Refuse the dose. Build in silence. Let your work echo. Every thought is an investment. Only fund what you want to see in your future. Detach from results, obsess over process. Marry the ritual. Divorce the neediness. Think in decades, act in days. Delay gratification. Accelerate execution. These are not lessons, they are lenses. And through these lenses, the world no longer controls you. You no longer chase the prize, you become the kind of man who magnetizes it. You are not the outcome. You are not the emotion. You are not the noise. You are the cause. And when you think like the cause, you will build the kind of life that others react to. People will call it luck. They will call it charisma. They will say, you've always had something different about you. Let them say it. Let them write about it. Let them wonder. But you will know the truth, that it wasn't magic. It was mindset. It was the slow, relentless process of building an invisible empire inside your skull until it became so strong the world had no choice but to reflect it. Because this is the one law no one can escape. The outer world always bends to the man who has mastered his inner world. Not sometimes. Not if he's lucky. Always. So go now. Think like a billionaire. Train like a builder. Move like a man who commands his own thoughts. and let the world follow your lead, because you are not reacting anymore. You are designing. And when a man designs his mind, his life is not a question mark. It is a blueprint. And the only thing left is to build it, brick by brick, thought by thought, standard by standard, until the world sees and kneels before the quiet, powerful, immovable force you have become. And that force is you. And if ever you forget the weight of what I've told you, if ever you find yourself slipping back into the numb comfort of mediocrity, I want you to hear this truth hammering through the chambers of your mind. No one is coming to save you. No miracle, no mentor, no motivational quote. There is only you and the decision you must make in silence when no one is watching. Will you rise or will you rot? Will you rule your mind or be ruled by it? Will you move forward or fall back into the grave of excuses and moods and indecision? Because I will not lie to you. This path is brutal. It will cost you your old self. It will cost you every justification you've ever leaned on to explain why your life is stuck. It will cost you the weak identity that made comfort your God and reaction your religion. You will have to kill it. You will have to bury that version of you with your own hands and swear from this moment forward, I will not speak, think, act, or live like that man again. Do you understand? There is no middle ground between transformation and torment. You are either becoming the master of your fate or you are submitting to the chains of mental weakness. And weakness has no patience. It will creep back in the moment you lower your standard. It will poison you in the form of just this once. It will disguise itself as logic, as comfort, as taking a break. But do not listen. You have been given the laws. You have been shown the architecture. You have been handed the sword of mental sovereignty. Now strike, not against others, but against your own mediocrity, your own inconsistency, your own hesitations. Strike like a man who refuses to leave this life with his power unclaimed, his gifts unused, his mind wasted, because the world will not wait for you, and destiny does not beg. It chooses those who choose themselves. So make the choice to speak with clarity, to move with principle, to act with power, to rise without permission, to dominate your minutes, to eliminate your noise, to enter every day as the architect of what comes next. And when the doubts return, and they will, you will not shrink. You will not collapse. You will not search for safety. You will look them dead in the eye and say, I do not fear thought. I do not fear pain. I do not fear judgment, because I have mastered the only battlefield that matters, my mind. And at that moment, the chains will fall. And you will walk, not run, not stumble, walk forward with the calm terror of a man who knows exactly where he's going, exactly who he is, and exactly what he's made of. Because you didn't just learn 7 habits. You became them. You didn't just memorize principles. You forged them into your blood. You didn't just read this speech. You became the kind of man this speech was written for. And now the world will feel you. Not because you're loud. Not because you're desperate. But because you are undeniable. The future will kneel. Obstacles will scatter. And success will no longer be something you chase. It will be the shadow that follows you. Because you are no longer hoping, you are no longer drifting. You are no longer asking if you're ready. You are ready. You are rising. You are ruling. And nothing can stop you now. There comes a moment in every man's life, one, not marked by celebration, but by confrontation. A moment when he looks in the mirror and no longer sees who he has been, but glimpses who he was meant to become. This moment does not arrive with applause. It arrives in silence, often after failure, often when no one is watching. It arrives when all distractions lose their flavor and the soul demands something higher than survival. It is in this moment that a decision must be made, a decision that few dare to make. Will I take possession of my own mind, or will I continue renting it to the world? For make no mistake, my friend, until you master your inner world, you are mastered by it. Until you command your emotions will command your behavior. Until you direct your thoughts will direct your destiny. Until you claim the throne within, you are a servant to circumstance. I speak now to the part of you that is tired of being ruled, tired of reacting, tired of explaining, tired of pretending to be less than what you are, just to fit a world built on noise, weakness, and emotional chaos. If you are ready to change your life, not someday, not when it's convenient, but now, then listen, not with your ears, with your mind. Because what I am about to give you is not a speech. It is a system of power, a code of mastery, a way of living that will separate you from 95% of the population, not because you are better, but because you are finally awake. This system is built on timeless principles, not trends, not motivation, not performance. Principles, truths that never change, no matter how loud the world gets. The first of these is the cornerstone upon which all mental control is built. It is the beginning of freedom. The first principle is this. 1. You must become emotionally untouchable. A man who is controlled by his emotions will never hold power. He may be liked, he may be popular, but he will not lead. Because leadership, true leadership, begins with self-governance. The masses act from feeling. The masters act from vision. If you allow anger, fear, doubt, or neediness to dictate your behavior, you are not living, you are reacting. And reaction is slavery. Let me say it as clearly as possible. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. Emotional detachment is not about denial. It is about direction. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the governance of feeling. It is the skill of feeling deeply, yet choosing wisely. It is the ability to say, yes, I am angry, but I will not move until my anger obeys my mind. Yes, I am afraid, but fear does not get a vote in my mission. Yes, I am tempted, but I have already decided what I will do. This is mastery. And it begins with one law, the law of response over reaction. Reaction is emotional chaos. Response is mental sovereignty. Do not aim to never feel emotion. That is not power, that is numbness. Aim to never be owned by emotion. That is strength. Practice this daily. When insulted, pause. When triggered, breathe. When disrespected, stand still. Because every reaction you deny gives birth to a new layer of strength within you. Each moment you delay your response, you thicken the walls of your inner throne room. And it is from that throne, not from your wounds, you must rule your life. Let others cry. Let others justify. Let others spiral. You command. Because the man who acts as if nothing can stop him must first become the man whose emotions no longer stop him. Let us now build upon this with the second eternal pillar. 2. You must discipline the mind daily. It will discipline you eventually. An undisciplined mind is the most expensive liability a man can carry. It will cost you peace, wealth, time, and relationships, one bad decision at a time. You were born with a powerful mind, but no one taught you how to control it. They taught you to obey, to react, to wait. But I am telling you now, the day you begin to discipline your mind is the day you begin to dominate your world. Discipline does not begin with action. It begins with thought. And the first thought must be, I am no longer available for mental weakness. Your mind must become a fortress. You must guard its gates every morning before the world gets inside. Wake up and own your inner dialogue. Do not let the phone speak first. Do not let the news infect your thinking. Do not let other people's opinions enter your gates before you've secured your purpose. The first thoughts of your day are sacred. They are instructions to your subconscious. And what you repeatedly tell yourself becomes your default. You must program victory not by accident, but with surgical intention. Say, I am not available for excuses. I am not reacting today. I am creating. I am not asking permission. I am issuing commands. Repeat this until your voice becomes prophecy, until your inner world obeys your commands without hesitation, until your doubts no longer argue back because they know you've stopped listening. And this brings us to a truth you must never forget. A man who speaks from a disciplined mind does not need to raise his voice. His tone is authority. You want influence? Discipline your thoughts. You want peace? Discipline your attention. You want wealth? Discipline your focus. Everything you want, everything, is already on the other side of mental control. And to gain that control, you must now embrace the third law, a law so rarely taught, yet so devastatingly powerful. 3. You must act as if nothing can stop you, because that is the only way the world knows you cannot be stopped. The world does not test what you say. It tests what you believe. And it knows what you believe not by what you feel, but by how you move. When you act from uncertainty, the world responds with resistance. When you act from fear, it sends you more of it. When you hesitate, the world hesitates with you. But when you act as if there is no alternative but victory, when you move as if the outcome is inevitable, when you walk as if the door will open, simply because you knocked, the world aligns. Not because it owes you anything, but because belief forces momentum, and momentum forces results. So here is your command. From this day forward, walk into rooms like you were sent to lead them. Speak as if your voice carries direction, not opinion. Move as if failure is no longer an option, because the man you have become no longer makes room for it. Act not arrogantly, but certainly. Not because you are better, but because you are aligned. You know who you are. You know what you want. You know how you think. And that clarity becomes your magnetism. That stillness becomes your strength. That belief becomes your strategy. Because the one who acts as if nothing can stop him becomes unstoppable, not by nature, but by decision. He is not lucky, he is focused. He is not loud, he is deliberate. He is not fearless, he is self-possessed. And that is what you must now become. You have learned now that to act as if nothing can stop you, you must first become the kind of person who no longer stands in his own way. You must now understand what most men never realize until it is too late. Your greatest enemy has never lived outside of you. It was never the market. It was never your childhood. It was never the rejection, the betrayal, the hardship. Those were only mirrors, reflections of what you hadn't yet mastered within. The real obstacle? Your inner resistance, the hesitation you obeyed, the doubt you fed, the fear you gave authority, the emotion you allowed to lead. The man who has not mastered himself will interpret every obstacle as a reason to stop. But the man who has mastered his mind, he interprets resistance as confirmation. He reads adversity not as a denial, but as a demand. Show me who you really are. And he answers with action. Calm, precise, commanding action. Now let me teach you a higher principle. One not for the emotional, not for the reactive, not for those who still need the world to believe in them. This is the law of the rare few mentally elite. I call it the law of mental neutrality. This law states that no event has inherent meaning. Only the meaning you assign to it will determine its power over you. A delay is not a defeat until you label it as such. A betrayal is not a breakdown until you dwell on it emotionally. A failure is not a finality until you declare it with your words. If you wish to move through the world like a leader, you must train yourself to remain mentally neutral, especially when others are emotionally loud. Do not react to the market. Respond with strategy. Do not react to rejection. Respond with self-direction. Do not react to disrespect. Respond with silent elevation. Let others spin in emotion. Let others drown in meaning. You watch, you choose, you respond, because that is what it means to lead. And only those who lead themselves can ever lead others. Neutrality is the gateway to power, not indifference, but clarity. You are no longer looking for reasons to react. You are looking for levers to pull with precision. And that's what separates you now. You are no longer the man who asks, "Why did this happen to me?" You are now the man who declares, "This happened, now I decide what it means." And meaning is power. Once you control meaning, you control reality. And that is the highest form of creation. Which brings us now to another principle, hidden from the masses yet obvious to the wise. What you speak, you build. Most people speak to describe what is. You must now speak to declare what will be. The average man says, I don't know what to do. The master says, I do the next right thing. The average man says, I'm stressed. The master says, I am focused. The average man says, this is hard. The master says, this is necessary. Your words are not a reflection of your reality. They are the instruction manual for your subconscious mind. Every time you speak, your mind listens. It follows your tone. It obeys your command. So what have you been instructing it to build? Doubt? Laziness? Anxiety? Then do not be surprised when your life reflects it. But when you begin to speak with precision, when you say, I move with purpose, when you say, I am focused regardless of conditions, when you say, I lead, I do not chase, I create, I do not complain, then the mind obeys differently. Then your tone sharpens. Then your pace accelerates, and the world begins to bend around your inner authority. This is not magic. This is alignment. This is the direct consequence of speaking like a builder, not a beggar, which now demands a decision from you. What kind of communication will you allow from your own mouth? Do not let weak words leave your lips, not because of superstition, but because of standard. Speak only that which reinforces the man you are becoming, and watch the world mirror it back to you. Which brings us, without pausato, one of the most devastatingly powerful truths in this entire philosophy. You are always training yourself for mastery or for mediocrity. There is no such thing as neutral action. Every behavior you repeat is a rehearsal. Every thought you dwell on is a vote. Every choice you make is a contract with your future self. When you hit snooze, you train your nervous system to tolerate procrastination. When you tolerate disrespect, you train your identity to accept powerlessness. When you say, I can't help it, you train your subconscious to hand the reins to emotion. You are always teaching your body what is normal. You are always training your spirit what it must tolerate. You are always feeding your inner world the standard it will enforce. So I ask you now, not politely but urgently, what are you currently training yourself to become? Because if you are not actively training yourself to become unshakable, you are unconsciously training yourself to remain breakable. This must become non-negotiable. You must act, move, think, speak, and behave as if nothing can stop you, not because you believe it fully yet, but because the training requires it. And over time, the body learns. The voice changes. The gaze sharpens. The posture aligns. And without needing to prove it to anyone, you become it. You become what the undisciplined can't understand. You become what the world cannot ignore. You become what resistance cannot outlast. And it is in that becoming, not the goal, not the finish line, not the trophy, but in the internal shift that everything changes. There is a reason most people never rise above average, even though they read the same books, hear the same advice, and nod along to the same truths. It is not because they lack knowledge. It is because they never take full responsibility for their inner world. You see, responsibility is not about blame. Responsibility is about power. Until you accept full and total responsibility for every reaction, every thought, every emotional habit, you remain a dependent, a servant to things outside your control. And you will never dominate your external life until you dominate your internal response to life. That brings us to a truth so piercing, it must be spoken slowly and with precision. You cannot control the world, but you can control the meaning you give it. When you realize that, you stop trying to force people to understand you. You stop wasting energy chasing external validation. You stop asking for clarity from the same world that profits from your confusion. Instead, you return to the only battlefield that ever mattered, your mind. And there you draw the line. You say, from this moment forward, I assign meaning, not emotion. From this moment forward, I decide the significancy, no the crowd. From this moment forward, nothing enters my spirit unless I grant it permission. This is not arrogance. This is ownership. You stop being a sponge. You become a filter. You stop absorbing noise. You start transmitting signal. And when the world sees that level of detachment, when it sees a man who cannot be baited, cannot be provoked, cannot be emotionally hijacked, it steps back. It watches you differently. It treats you differently. Because now, you are no longer part of the crowd. You are now part of the rare breed that doesn't flinch. And this changes everything, which now leads us to one of the highest laws of internal command. Stillness is a superpower in a world addicted to reaction. Stillness is not passive. Stillness is strategic waiting. It is the refusal to be rushed. It is the mastery of timing. It is the decision to pause not because you are unsure, but because you are secure. Let others respond instantly. Let them react on impulse. Let them scream, argue, perform. You wait. You calculate. You understand that noise is weakness. And silence, when chosen, is power in its purest form. The strongest man in the room is never the one with the most words, but the one whose silence demands the most respect. This stillness allows you to see what others miss, to hear what others drown out, to choose the right move, not the fast one. Stillness creates separation. And separation, my friend, creates leverage. In that leverage, you rise above competition, not by doing more, but by doing the necessary. And it is from that place still, clear, detached, that your effectiveness becomes untouchable. And this stillness births the most powerful quality of all, unshakable presence. Presence is not just being in the room. Presence is the energy you bring into the room. It is the weight of your mind, the force of your calm, the precision of your voice. When you have mastered emotional detachment, when your discipline is no longer performative but permanent, your presence becomes magnetic. People lean in when you speak. They lower their voice in your presence. They adjust their energy to match yours. Why? Because true presence is a result of inner alignment. It is what happens when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are no longer in conflict, when the mind no longer argues with itself, when the heart no longer bleeds over old stories, when your decisions are no longer negotiations with fear. You become one, and in that unity you become undeniable, because the world may resist your goals. It may mock your efforts. It may delay your results, but it cannot deny your presence. Presence is earned, not through noise, but through mastery over self. And when you possess it, you no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities align with you, because energy never lies. And the man who walks in total alignment does not need to explain himself. He is the explanation. So I ask you now, what are you explaining that you could be embodying instead? What are you chasing that you could be commanding simply by the weight of your internal authority? This is your next level. Not more action, not more noise, not more approval, just more alignment. And once you are aligned, you do not need to act as if nothing can stop you. Because the truth is clear. Nothing ever could. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You changed what you respond to. You changed what you tolerate. You changed who leads inside you, your fear or your focus. And now there is no need to force it. There is only a need to walk it. There is a momentum sacred when a man no longer looks outside of himself for confirmation. He no longer asks, am I ready? He no longer pleads, will they approve? He simply moves. He simply decides. And it is in that decision, not the hesitation before it, not the applause after it, that a new world begins. Because make no mistake, your destiny was never waiting for permission. It was waiting for certainty. The world bends not to the emotional. It bends to the unshakable. To the few who live by internal law, not external pressure. To the rare who have burned every exit to mediocrity. To those who walk not because the path is easy, but because they are no longer available for anything less. And now, that must be you. Because here is what you must understand. Every day you delay your inner mastery is a day the world delays your outer victory. Every time you say, maybe later, you trade your crown for chains. Every time you break your own standard, you train your mind to betray you under pressure. But every time you choose discipline, especially when it hurts, you become more dangerous. You become the man who shows up when others quit. You become the voice of reason when others panic. You become the architect of outcomes while others wait for motivation. And slowly, invisibly, unquestionably, you separate, you rise. You are no longer one of them. You are no longer part of the crowd trying to survive. You are now the standard, the example, the proof that mastery is not theory. It is a decision, practiced to the point of inevitability. And now we arrive at the peak, the point of no return. Because once you see what I'm about to tell you, you can never go back to how you used to live. So hear me now fully, clearly, without distraction. This is the truth that men fear because it demands everything. You are already everything you need to become unstoppable. You are just undisciplined. The power is there. The clarity is within. The presence, the influence, the focus, the precision, the confidence, the courage, it's already built into you. But it is buried beneath. Excuses disguised as logic. Fear disguised as humility. Inconsistency disguised as freedom. Approval seeking disguised as kindness. Emotional chaos disguised as passion. And none of that is the real you. The real you? He moves without asking. He decides without fear. He works in silence, not for validation, but for dominion. He no longer explains. He no longer reacts. He no longer waits. Because he knows that acting as if nothing can stop him means becoming the kind of man that nothing can stop. Not by luck, not by talent, but by inner law. This is the elite level. Not everyone gets here. Some will read this and return to reaction. They will say, good speech, and scroll back into chaos. But not you. You've heard too much. You've changed too deeply. You've stared too long into the truth to ever look away again. So now you must act. And when you act, you must act as if your future is watching, because it is. It is waiting. And it does not respond to hesitation. It responds only to the man who says, I no longer negotiate with weakness. I no longer explain what must be done. I no longer react to anything beneath my standard. I lead. I decide. I move. I speak with power. I act with purpose. I think with discipline. I live from command. I act as if nothing can stop me because nothing will. And that, my friend, is the moment it all changes. Not because you are finally ready, but because you have finally stopped waiting to be ready. You've dropped the weight. You've claimed the mirror. You've stood in the fire. And now you walk forward. Not louder, not faster, not harder, but higher. With standards the world can feel before you speak. With silence that earns more respect than 1,000 empty words. With presence that reminds every room who the leader is. Because now you are not hoping for change. You are the change. And your life will reflect that not with time but with intensity. So go now. Rebuild your identity from the ground up. Speak only what reinforces your strength. Think only what aligns with your mission. Act only from command. And let the results speak in silence. Because when you act as if nothing can stop you, the world learns quickly that it can't.